So some pros and cons of renting out condos, and I guess why I try to stay away from them, right? So obviously there's pros and cons to every type of investment you have, but here's kind of some of the ones I see with condos, right? So some pros is you have less capex to worry about, right? Because the condo usually covers like the exterior, right? So that's a bonus because you don't have to take that out of your calculation. But at the same time, you have to account for the association fee, right? So, like I said, it usually covers like the exterior, so like all the big ticket items, like I think roofs and siding and windows and I think even the foundation. But I think it just depends on the association on what they actually cover. But the thing to consider is that yeah, they cover all those things, but usually the association fee is much higher than if you were to just hold capex on, let's say, a house, right? And what capex is, capital expenditures, like I said, it's like the big ticket items, right? Like the big ticket items that last a long time, but they're really expensive, right? So like the roof, the siding, the windows, the furnace, stuff like that that lasts a long time, but is expensive to fix. That's what I meant by capex, if you don't know what that is. So anyway, so that's kind of a pro and a con at the same time, right? So you got to take that into consideration, right? So if your rent's like, I don't know, 1,500 or let's say 1,000, and everything's new on a house, right? Maybe your capex is only like 3%, where on a condo, it doesn't really matter how old or new that stuff is, right? Because they take care of it, but you might still be paying like $2, $3, $400 a month for the association, right? So that's just a thing to keep in account when you're doing your calculation. So I guess bottom line is usually you cash flow less on a condo, but you worry about less things. So it's like a juggling act, right? The other thing to keep into account is you usually have neighbors, right? Neighbors that actually own the place and neighbors that might be salty that you're renting the condo, right? So that could be problematic, right? And that's one of the problems. And again, that can be a pro and a con, right? Because if you put some people in there and they're partying and destroying the place, well, the neighbors are going to call the condo association, the condo association will call you, and you're going to know about it. If it's a house, you might not know about it until like a year later, and you get your house back destroyed, right? So, same time, pro and a con, right? Or they could be super picky, and every time the guy like sneezes, they can freak out, right? Pro and con, just got to weigh it out. Another thing is condo associations usually have a lot of rules and guidelines and all of these regulations, right, that everyone's got to follow. And, in all those complexes, you have the people that are diehards and they're about that life. So, and they love to complain. So every little thing they're going to call on, which again is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Good thing because you're constantly getting complaints and sometimes it can be annoying, but bad because maybe your tenant is just a good guy and he just forgot to put the trash in one day or whatever, right? These people go hard in those associations. So that's another thing to consider. I guess another pro would be you don't have to worry about the tenant actually cutting the lawn or the snow, shoveling snow, right? Because the association handles that. So that is a bonus, I would say. Goes under the pro, not really the con. The other thing to really kind of keep in mind is that the fees can always change, and the association can change rules and guidelines that can really affect your investment, right? So that's the main reason I try to stay away from condos. And the other reason I guess I try to stay away from them is apartments and condos. Like apartments, like if you buy like one apartment or like one condo, during recessions or during whatever downturns in the market, those prices usually fall the hardest, right? So right now, obviously everything's expensive, so it would be a terrible time, I would say, to buy a condo or an apartment unless you're getting a crazy deal, right? So that's another thing to kind of keep into account. I actually know a lot of people that bought condos, like single condos or apartments back in '09, and they like doubled or tripled in value, right? So the price, even though it falls way more, it's got way higher to come up, right? So I guess that's like a little mental note. If we go into a downturn and, right, prime example, condos in Troy that are selling for like, I don't know, crazy, like 200K for like a 2-bed, 1-bath or 2-bath deal, right? Which is nuts. And they got like a $400 association fee. If those are selling for like, I don't know, half off or like more than half off, buy them all up, right? Why not? It's a sale. And a few years later, you can probably get a good tenant in there because they have good schools, and then double your money when you sell it. But, right, it's just one of those things, what you got to focus on. So that's kind of why I stay away from condos. And, yeah, I mean, it works for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that have a lot of condos and they do really well with them. But they also sit on the board of the association, right? So that helps them to make sure that those fees don't change or those regulations don't change, right? So another thing to keep in account. But hopefully this video helped. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, have a great weekend.